Good evening. Welcome to the third episode of 13 Minutes to Midnight. I saved it for today, Friday the 13th, actually. I thought it'd be cool to film it on it and release the third episode of 13 Minutes to Midnight. Uh, First thing I want to talk about tonight on this Friday the 13th is what everyone's been talking about. The weather. The weather has been so awesome here in this past week or so. I mean, last weekend was just beautiful and, up in the 70s, and we finally got some rain. It's been really good. I meant, the other thing, coronavirus. Yeah, it's crazy. Pandemics haven't really come to the United States in a long time or in any memory. I've been talking to teachers I work with, students and such. I really haven't ever witnessed anything like this, especially the run on toilet paper. Of all things, toilet paper. I mean, in pandemics and stuff, there's always something that kind of gets singled out. We'll always remember in the coronavirus, the run on toilet paper. First off, I want to say that, I think there's the quarantines, the shutting down of things is advisable for a period. I do think there is some, we can't react so much in fear. It is a virus. It will run its course. It will saturate, and we will adapt and move on like we always do. But I'll say one of the good things about it, if we're going to reduce the amount of people being in contact in large groups, at colleges or wherever, sporting events, it's forcing people to be home. It's hopefully, I know that's not perfect for everyone, but the thing is, maybe this is an opportunity for some families that are so busy that they actually can finally get some time, maybe play a game, put the phone down, and just spend some time together. So maybe there's a positive to that, not to mention that, if the other influenza A, B, the common cold that are raging right now, in itself, this might be a good time to kind of slow down and just kind of catch up. So enough on that. That's all over the news. I'm not going to go into it. I did see one funny meme that I thought was really funny, kind of put a light into it. Currently, I think in the United States, there's only 4 states, and they may be exposed by now, but it said the new March Madness Final Four. Montana, Idaho, West Virginia, and Alabama. Who's going to win not getting the last to get corona or not going to get corona? Kind of funny meme, kind of put a light onto it. It is a serious matter, but in these times we've got to sit back, relax, and appreciate and have some happiness, because if we get so paranoid and freaked out, we're just going to live in constant fear. So what I want to, sorry, didn't mean to touch my face. I'll wash my hands after this is done. I ain't going to touch anybody. But the Black Death. So one of the first major pandemics that we know of that has a lot of recorded history, and I'm sure there's some older ones that, I think there's one in 506 AD in Constantinople, somewhere in there, give or take, but is the 1346-47 to 1351, what is known as the Black Death. It also goes by other names as the Great Pestilence, which just sounds dirty, the Black Death, which is probably the most common maybe to what I've heard of, or the plague, the bubonic plague. There's actually 3 types of plague that you could have got. It's all caused by the Yersinia pestis bacterium. And for several years they thought it actually was carried on fleas of rats. However, as they study it more, they have come to realize that that may be flawed a little bit and maybe not give it pure saturation, because there's some places where the rats may have not been able to actually get out and actually infect the people like they originally thought. But either case, it started in China, and I'm not trying to place any blame on one country, but most of the diseases do start there. Actually, listening to a series, they thought gerbil population, the overpopulation of gerbils, actually could have, or guinea pigs or something, could have led to the rise of the plague in China at that time. And then it just spread from there, followed the Silk Road west, and then there was some conflict going over there between the Mongols and some Venetian traders in a city in the Black Sea. Don't ask me the name of the city right now. I don't remember. The name is there, but I can't remember. Anyway, these Venetians were boarded up there, and the Mongols couldn't get in there, so they just started doing pretty gross warfare. They started throwing dead bodies in. People were screaming. It was gross. So the Venetians are like, you know what? We got access to the port. We're getting out of here. Mongols left too. They were like, we're done with this. We're dying. We're sick. So they left. But then this one ship, I think they've traced it down to one ship, maybe a couple, fled this city through the Black Sea all the way down to Constantinople, modern day Istanbul, the only country or city to sit on two continents in Europe and Asia. Came down through the straits there, past Greece, rounded it, and came up into Italy, up into Venice region, bringing the Black Death with it. And from there, it spread like wildfire. Just kind of like we're talking about today, person-to-person contact. If it was fleas, hygiene was not what it is today. Immunities were strong in some degree, but they weren't ready for this just surge of plague. And anyway, it just spread. And, you know, literally, I think when I look at the numbers of the Black Death, there was 475 million people in the world, and I think the population reduced down to like 375. Get estimates, 25%, maybe 1/5 of the world's population was wiped out by the plague. But what was interesting about it was, well, Jews got blamed for it, like they'd get blamed for everything else. But what it did was completely transform the whole European hierarchy. And so just like there could be some benefits of this kind of coronavirus that we won't see immediately. You know, I talked about spending more time as family and stuff. That could be something. It completely did away with feudalism for the most part across Europe. It made worker shortages, so the worker demand went up. Prices soared for workers. Workers were now free from the land. They had the opportunity to make higher wages. So there was a lot of good long-term benefits from the plague, and did away with that old system, and kind of moved us into the modern world that would lead us to the Renaissance, Reformation, etc. Right? So there's some always good comes from it. Maybe think of it as a cleansing of the earth. Sometimes the earth does it. You know, I'm not going to get into spiritual religion at this point or this juncture, but sometimes, you know, things take care of themselves. Fast forward to 1918, the Spanish flu. Spanish flu is, most estimates now, killed 17 to 25, maybe 50 million people. It's hard to guess. They now think the biggest thing about that major pandemic, which is probably really the closest global pandemic that we could think of on a large scale with a lot of death, World War I. Soldiers in proximity. In fact, I was just at Fort Riley not too long ago, hence why my beard is gone. I'm regrowing it now, but, you know, beard gone. They also say coronavirus, save yourself, infection, get rid of the beard, which is a sad day. But I was at the location, Fort Funston, or Camp Funston, where the original flu pandemic of 1918 supposedly originated in the United States. And so that pandemic is really tied up in World War I. I think malnourishment. It wasn't that, it once again originated in China. Not getting in on a theme here, but a lot of viruses, diseases, and the season how they transpire originate in Asia, China usually, and spread throughout the world. Or Africa. Let's not forget Africa. Africa's got its own. But so yeah, kind of crazy to look back and see. And that flu took a couple years to run its course. A little bit slower as far as how it spread because of travel. But in either case, it still spread pretty quickly, mostly because of close proximity of people. So enough on death and Black Death, Spanish flus and stuff. Something that's more dangerous is hurdles on a track. There was it was just me. I'll just stay with it. It was just me. I was at practice the other day, running with the boys. Thought I'd be cool, blowing my whistle, running around, yelling at them to sprint to the front, doing the Indian run, you know, two groups. 18 boys all giggling, laughing, yelling, you know, me running backwards, and then me running backwards into a stack of hurdles. Don't remember much what happened. I just remember intense pain. It all went dark. I woke up. I saw feet around me, and I said, after a few seconds, boys, keep running. I'm all right. Got up, hurt so bad. I can't imagine how bad to tell you it hurt. I jogged around the corner, and then I stopped. They kept running, and I stopped, and I played it off. But man, oh man, that was over a week ago. It still hurts like lower back. Put some Tiger Balm on it. That helped. But it still hurts. Dabbed in class the other day for whatever reason. Fire right up the back. Hurt really, really bad. Boys will never let me down. Let me live it down. So hurdles. I tried to look up statistics on hurdle safety. It was talking about horses more than anything. Apparently, people never really hit hurdles and like have major problems. I mean, you know, athletes hit it, but apparently it's fine. Coaches hit it; it's the worst thing ever, and they can barely walk. But tonight, I want to talk about a little bit of coffee. Haven't done that in any of these episodes yet. Tonight, special coffee I'm drinking. Made one for myself and my wife. It's a cafe mocha, basically, or just a mocha, latte mocha, if you want to call it. Got a little bit of fudge at the bottom, a little chocolate syrup. Either will work. You know, a good portion. I don't measure anything ever out of steamed milk on my espresso maker. Probably, you know, half a cup, maybe, give or take. Maybe a little less, maybe a quarter, depending on how much milk you want. And then a shot and a half. You could do a 1 shot or 2 shots. I did 1.5 just so I could split with my wife of espresso on top. Then I kind of stirred it together. Really, really smooth. Good consistency, not overpowering. Nice little pick me up in the evening here. And I use my favorite preferred coffee. Shout out to Italy. I know they're on lockdown. I probably won't be able to get any for a while, but Italy coffee, great for espressos. And I usually like the dark roast or the espresso roast. I think this is the medium roast is all I could find. And TJ Maxx, you know, you never know what you're going to find there. Good coffee. Follow up from the last episode, something cool when we talked about Castle Bravo, the nuclear test in the Pacific. I got a message from a guy here in town. His grandfather back in 1952 saw Operation Ivy, one of the operations directly before leading up to Castle Bravo, and was really excited to talk about it, show the certificate, and his grandfather's still alive. In fact, I know him, which is pretty cool to have a local person see it and have a personal experience like that. I did have a great uncle who was not in the Pacific, but down in Medicine Bow, New Mexico. I think it was Medicine Bow, Elephant Bow, something like that. But basically southern New Mexico, where they did a lot of the testing, central southern, and saw some of the nuclear explosion. He was a conservation agent down in the region. So cool story from that period. Also a little bit of some current events here. We are 1 year removed from our area from the Great Flood of 2019. Tomorrow, March 14th, 15th will mark when the roads and the water came over and really completely transformed the area on a somber note. But now we're hopefully moving forward. The roads are open currently, and hopefully they'll stay open, and all the water's mostly gone. So hopefully we can get the levees fixed and move on from there. A couple things in history. On March 13th, in 1519, another plague of sorts hit the Americas with the arrival of the conquistador Cortez. Cortez came, conquered, killed lots, not only with his weapons, but with his body, meaning disease that they brought. The Spaniards, when they killed, I think it's one of the greatest humanitarian disasters in history is credited. Millions of native people to the Americas will die from exposure to the Spanish and their Europeans in general, and to their diseases they brought. In 1902, schools are closed, just like we are, you know, right now for a couple weeks because of the coronavirus. Not here yet, but across the country. Polish schools in 1902 are closed because Polish students refusing to sing the song of the Tsar, or a song honoring the Tsar. Of all the things to shut a school down for, refusing to sing the song of the Tsar. I guess we're missing something now. Which leads me to March 15th, the Ides of March, Sunday. We will not have an episode then, but I want to talk about the Ides of March, as the soothsayer and the great Shakespearean said, "Be aware the Ides of March." One of my favorites people in history is Julius Caesar. And on March 15th, the Ides of March, he was assassinated or killed or murdered, however you want to call it. You know, removed, if you hate him, by many senators, including the Brutus that we always talk about, et tu, Brute, and all that. The irony of that, when I think it was 44 BC, when he was 45, 44 BC, when he is murdered or executed, is that the senators thought they were doing good. Now, he had been sleeping with their wives, he was mischievous, but for the people of Rome, Julius Caesar, though maybe not a perfect, great individual, was good for Rome. He had provided stuff back to the people, he had brought glory to Rome, he had expanded the empire, but his killing was more of jealousy and rage and a power struggle, if anything. And then, honestly, the civil war that the Romans would be plunged in afterwards with Octavian becoming Augustus, his adopted son, maybe even his biological son. There's a lot of debate. It's one of those events in history that we could never have imagined what the impact would be. Now, Julius Caesar, fascinating to study. Spend hours on him. A man who built a bridge, crossed it just to show power, and then crossed it back and destroyed it in a matter of days. The Rhine River. I think it was the Rhine or Rubicon. I don't remember which river it was. Doesn't matter. The point of it is, people like that don't come along every single day. And so the importance of Caesar and his death cannot be underestimated in Western civilization and the impact it had. And all that being said, we'll maybe do something on Julius Caesar one time in the Caesar problem, which is one of my favorite things to study from, talking about sources. Did Caesar say, did Caesar ever say, I came, I saw, I conquered? Many would say he did. Some would say he's not, didn't. One of the things in history that we never know. We can never get the full facts. It's what you believe, your sources, no matter what it is. Maybe it's Facebook, Twitter today. Maybe it's Fox, CNN, whatever it may be. I can tell you the one thing that I recommend right now is maybe turning off the news sources a little bit, getting what you need to know, understanding what's going on in emergency situations, but maybe unplug a little bit. In this day and age in which everyone is paranoid, freaking out, if there's anything else that these times, and looking even at the divided Rome in 44 BC, sometimes the things that unify us are the most unexpected things. Sometimes a virus can make people question a lot of things and look like, you know what, maybe I appreciate my fellow man and I want to help them. And until next time, make sure you keep your toilet paper stocked, locked, and ready. And just keep hanging in there and have a good evening. Till next time, 13 minutes to midnight, out.